Recording, huh? PKN, episode 439. We're all here.
We made it. You know, we one way or another.
And it's time. I'm so drugged out.
Yeah. So you had a bit of a foot injury, I am told.
Should we lead with that? I'll go. It's funny because there's like on these like paramotor Facebook groups and stuff. I'm a celebrity over there. I'm a big deal in the para community. Not as the best pilot, but like a popular pilot in like what I was.
The para community makes it sound like there's a bunch of people in wheelchairs and all sorts of things.
So I've been doing like updates over there, like day 1 of training, day 2 of training, and they're loving it. You know, they're like can't get enough of it. But over here in the PKA world, they're like, "Oh my God, Woody, shut the fuck up with all your paramotor talk." But just the same, I'll do it anyway. So I came out here to California. I do paramotoring. Everybody knows that. What they call free flight is the same thing, but without a motor. You jump off a mountain and you find rising columns of air and you fly without a motor. And I wanted to add that to the menu, not replace, but do that. I have online para friends who go on these vacations to like Costa Rica or Oklahoma or whatever. I just can't go because that's not in my skill set. So I came out here to add it. And first couple of days went great, but the launching is different, like jumping off a mountain versus like running on flat ground under power. And the wind conditions are different. Like a paramotorist typically seeks out nice calm air, and a free flight guy looks for some rowdy air because he needs that lift. And I just not that experienced at dealing with rowdy air. So first couple of days, got my feet wet, even started doing well. And then the next couple of days was a maneuvers course, which will be some videos on my channel. And that was awesome. You would take your wing and deflate it, like those strings that hold you, grab them, yank them down to your pockets. You're falling at like 200 feet a minute or a second or a lot, falling a lot, maybe 200 feet a second. I don't know exactly. And it's up there and it's wagging around and my body's getting twisted around. Like, when you're on a swing set and there's 2 chains and yeah. So at first it's kind of hard to twist, but then once you do your first twist, it goes real easily. That shit's happening. And I'm, dude, I learned so much and like I was killing it. There's a trick called wing overs where you sort of go left and right. I'm way upside down on this wing and I was doing really well. Even my instructor who is not prone to giving compliments was like, "Your wing overs are elite." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been working on them forever."
Done.
Yeah. And but he wasn't happy with everything I did. But that was like my big thing. I really wanted to get my wing overs nailed. And then we were going to do cross country. This is like the 3rd phase of my training. And there was an asphalt parking lot next to, I guess I'll describe it as a cliff. I mean, it was maybe 60 degrees. Like it wasn't vertical, but it was steep. Mm-hmm. And around it, there's something called a Venturi effect. So even if the wind is like, I'll call it 8 miles an hour elsewhere, coming up this bowl that led to the launch spot, it was like 20. And a free flight pilot wants to take off into the gusty, like worst part of it so that he can get lift. Otherwise, he jumps off, immediately loses a couple hundred feet of altitude and has a hard time getting up above the mountain. So the first time I inflated my wing, like to bring it up, it picks me up in the air and it twists me around. And one of the instincts I built in the first part of my training was to keep flying, right? I was doing dumb stuff at first, like grabbing the risers or breaking my fall. That's wrong. Priority number 1, control the wing. So I did that and like I turned around and I was trying to fly off the edge of the cliff, but I didn't make it. I landed in the asphalt. I turned around, killed the wing. Brilliant, right? Even my instructor said I did it well. And like I said, he's not prone to compliments. So this time I set up a little closer to the cliff, thinking I wouldn't have so much to penetrate. I launched it and I did keep flying the wing, but my body position was all messy. I was swinging around and out of control, and I'm flying backwards, but my body's in the forwards position. I'm supposed to be going that anyway. My toe lands and it kind of twists and faces towards my butt. Yeah. And I could hear kind of a pop, 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 like So in my head, I thought it was ligaments. Now that I know I have 3 broken bones in my ankle, I think that. So, well,
Bones, that's better than ligaments, right?
I hear you. I
Just
don't.
trying to be a glass full kind of guy, you know?
Yeah. So, did you know immediately that it was broken? I mean, how long?
It was pretty good. I have a lot of experience just rolling my ankle like to the side, probably do. And I'm like, I don't think this is just that. And
when I just to interject, when I broke mine, there was an audible pop. Mine twist. It was my right foot, and it twisted to the right, if that makes sense. Like, you can picture that. Yeah, the toe went to that way, and there was an audible pop, and it felt like I could feel the pop. It was almost like you're sliding your thumb off something, pressing hard, and then it like slips and lets go, and I could feel it, and I was so terrified. I was like, I thought the bone was sticking out. That it was so loud. So like I know what that's like, the sound and everything.
I really don't.
Was it a pain right away, or was it more like it was a panic of what it was, but like pain didn't register until later?
To me?
Yeah.
I was a little in shock. So for the record, mine bent inward like the pigeon-toed way. Yeah. And like one of my first things is I'm still attached to this wing, and I wanted to get it unattached to me because I could get dragged across the parking lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And someone came over, and I was like, I wanted to get the wing off, and I don't know if he was a paraglider pilot because he was like, no, like you didn't want to move anything.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's get out of the traffic, like pretending it was a car accident. Step one, let's go to safety if you're in danger, and I was. So all you have to do is unclip half the wing, and it loses its ability to be a wing. So that's what I did, and then I start like assessing it, like, all right, it's pointed straight right now, and I just had a good feeling it was a pretty good one. And my instructor, he might have had some painkillers with him, so I might have had some of those just to kick things off.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
It's fortunate. Yeah.
The people at the hospital didn't seem to think it was all that legal, but I took a picture of the bottles because I knew they'd ask me like if I was taking anything or on anything, and they're like, "Yeah, don't show me that name. That's not yours." Exactly.
It's like the same thing as in like Band of Brothers, where they're like, "You don't know if he's had 1 or 2 morphine shots, Sarge. What am I supposed to do now?" And it's like, and then they give him one and he dies. So.
Oh, did that happen? I don't even remember that.
I don't recall. Yeah, I don't
know. I didn't have
no. Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly.
But when that pain started going, you took the pills, and I'm sure that you have the nice, good, non-alleged legal pills with your name on the bottle now to get rid of the pain. Yeah. Is it like, were you? Because I know that's the one substance that when you do get injured, you take it and you're like, well, all right, this is pretty good. Like it was part of you when you were taking it, like this fucking sucks, but also like I need to pick a good show before I take this. Like,
I don't think I have anything that good. It's called.
I thought you were gonna say anything good to watch.
Amphetamine. So it's a mix between Tylenol and
Vicodin.
Oh, it's Vicodin. Okay. They also call it Norco or Narco. I don't know. But this is what they gave me before I was going to have surgery. And then I had surgery, and they prescribed some better stuff. Those prescriptions were left on the printer, and I never got them. So I tried to have them like call them in, but one, I'm in California, and I had the surgery in Nevada, and that apparently is a complication. And two, just with like I guess this kind of narcotic, they're really I don't know, careful about how they give it out. Yeah. So all I have is the weaker stuff. But it seemed like I usually don't take a lot of pain meds. I usually don't like them, and I usually don't finish my bottle or anything like that. So, but they said today was going to be the big pain day, and thus far it hasn't really lived up to expectations. So
that's good.
I guess I'm okay.
How long were you in surgery? Like we kind of glossed over that, but was it like you were out for 2 hours, and what kind of surgery? Were there pins placed in? Like,
so the surgery was not long. It's 30-40 minutes. This is I'm flying around Lake Tahoe, so these people are like, it's ski country. They're broken ankle experts. They see this every day, and There's definitely a metal plate with some pins on one side, and he said he fixed two sides, and I'm not sure if that side also has some metal plates and pins.
Damn.
It's possible that I'll want those removed someday. He said sometimes people get irritated by them and sometimes people don't. But so that's a thing. The recovery time is really long, and that's I guess I'm a little happy right now because of the drugs, but I like flying a lot, like more than most people like anything. And I feel like I land and my wife is like, "You're a different person." Like I'm happy. I'm a better husband, father, and dog owner after I land. And I'm not sure I'm gonna fly this year. Like that's how long of recovery we're talking about.
So like this year is in like the next 3.5 months until 18.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm not sure I'll fly before Christmas if that clears it up. And it's 8 to 12 weeks with no pressure on it, if I understand right. And then I switch over to like a walking boot, and then there'll be some time in that, maybe like another 8 weeks.
Time to borrow one of those trikes.
I actually lined it up already. Yeah.
Yeah, did you? It's 2 days after that.
Yeah, I was like, Eric, you know what? Like, you make these great trikes, and I could bring some visibility to them. And just a loner. Just a loner.
You're gonna be on that trike. Let's just say it now. Woody's gonna get himself a trike, and I wholeheartedly support that because I don't know shit about it, but like just looking at the two platforms as they are from my point of view, I always liked the idea of the tricycle. I know you said that's kind of like the old guy thing, or like maybe even the overweight guy thing, but to me, like you're in a craft at that point. Maybe to you, like one of the biggest, coolest things is like you're almost like a rocketeer when you're out there standing, walking around. You're really self-contained. But to me, I always saw at least some semblance of safety in that, like that frame, that body that was between you and the earth. I don't know.
There's some truth to that, and both sides of it. And trike guys, there's a platform there to deck it out a little better. Like you can have a fuel gauge, and they tend to have better lights for like evening flights and stuff like that. Whereas when you carry it up, they often so the legal limit for fuel is 5 gallons, but most foot launch guys have like 3 because you got to carry that around. On a trike, go 5. Why the heck not? You're just pushing it. So so there's definitely some trike advantages. Heck, maybe at the end of all this, I'll add it to the menu.
Well, dang.
Yeah, you're definitely going to end up in one of those trikes, given how it's still in like the hours range post-accident, and you're like, well, they say 8 weeks, but I'm a fast healer, and I love these pills, so I'm thinking 8-9 days tops.
Yeah.
I've read online if you just tape it very tight.
Dude, I already started shopping for new shoes. Like they make paragliding shoes, and the instructor instantly pointed to my boots. I had hiking boots on. They're Merrell's, and he's like, those things are terrible. He's like, you could go in tennis shoes where you'd slip, or you could go in proper paraglider shoes where you'd be protected. But that is just grippy enough to break your ankle and weak enough not to support it. And,
oh man!
The reason mine was broken is because I was wearing steel cleats, and the steel cleat caught on home plate as I was sliding in, and so like my right foot is when you do a baseball slide, you sort of fold your right foot under your left and slide on your hip, and the tip of that cleat caught and just rolled my foot over and broke it. Yeah, that sucks.
It's actually the boot. This is my left shoe. Oh, my camera's not working, is it?
Oh, yeah, you're froze in the...
Maybe turn it on and off again?
I'll try. Man, as soon as we do a visual.
Yeah, the one time we need it.
Yeah, right?
There you
go. We go.
So this is the boot. It's a Merrell hiking boot. And this bottom, it's asphalt. So it was just super grippy. And it planted, and I twisted like that.
Yeah. I respect
as soon as you took that off, because you know how it is like in something like hockey, where if you break your ankle or hurt your foot, you're supposed to keep your skate on, because if you take it off right away, it just explodes. Like, did the guy who was helping you take your shoe off and you could just see it swelling in real time almost?
Yeah, well, the paragliding instructor has EMT training. It's like literally a while back, he just decided, like, you know what, people get hurt in this a lot. I should get some EMT training. He has brought 2 people back to life and 7 people not back to life.
Damn.
And yeah, which is actually a really good
Maybe
ratio.
you should get a little more EMT training, maybe. Like, I don't know, they just keep dying on me. That one just had a broken foot. I didn't make it. What can I say?
Put him down.
You win some, you lose. I put him down. Were you trained by a vet? Yeah. He's a doctor.
This is gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. It's like, put the gun down. Put the.
So that's funny, but actually and it might be 6 who didn't make it. Anyway, the ratio is it's a great ratio. Something like 98% of people that get CPR don't come back. So he's doing good by comparison.
Yeah.
But
I think that's bad at first, but when you think about it, like the people who if you're requiring CPR, shit has gotten bad already, eh?
Yeah. You seem to think it had to do with he got there, but he had like an EMT kit that he broke out, and he splinted it, and he had that like proper tape that sticks to itself, and ice packs where you like pop them and they get cold, and painkillers, and it was just like, oh yeah, like I swear to God, because I've been with him for like a week now, that the backpack he had with that little cross on it that was just to be cool.
Or a Swiss brand.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's pretty neat, but I feel like it's kind of a poser thing. But when he brought out all the medical supplies for me, he was no longer posing.
You're like, doctor, thank you. So, like, calm down.
That's one of those things that I didn't like. I didn't know that about the cross on the backpack either. Another thing I didn't know that I learned recently, those baby on board stickers? I was talking to, I never understood why those were there, except to say like, oh, we just had a baby, don't, rear end us or whatever. But I was talking to a friend who works in the insurance agency, and he was like, no, do you know the real reason for that is because if there's a big pile up on the highway and there's a bunch of accidents, the rescue crews will seek out the baby on board cars first and help them. And I had no idea.
My car forever because I know.
See, I'm gonna do that.
Me out.
I was thinking about it. Like I'd rather be the guy that the EMTs were looking at shamefully as they were pulling me out with the jaws of life than be the guy in the car adjacent going, I wish I'd thought of it. Like, as he's bleeding out, dying. So I'm thinking about ordering one on Amazon. Does that make me an asshole?
No. Yeah.
It does.
It makes you. I mean, you're gonna carry.
I'm a baby now.
That's all that matters.
There's one more thing. In the SIV course, you can get a T-shirt if you throw your reserve parachute, and that was oddly motivating for me. So Torrey Pines is the school, and the T-shirt says Torrey Pines Swim Team. And like the back of it has a guy and I was like, oh my God, I want that. That's so all about me, like a swimming paraglider. I wanted it so much. And for like a week, like before the course, during the first 2 days of the course, I thought you just had like nice, fun, straight and level flight, and then you threw your parachute. It turns out that's not how you get the shirt. You have to put yourself into an unrecoverable like crashing situation and then throw the reserve. So it's day 3 and I'm worn out. Like when you pull a lot of G-forces repeatedly, they call it getting G'd out, and it kind of wears on you. And 2, we had spent 3 days in like the hot sun. There was a tree shade there, but it was like 98 degrees and dry, long days. And so by my last flight, I'm just not the best version of me, and I have to do this. So he wants me to do a negative spin, which is when you collapse half the wing and start like spinning down. And I did a couple of those earlier, but I recovered properly. Now he wants me to recover improperly so that the wing doesn't come back and I'm in a big problem. I fuck it up. I can't get into a negative spin. It's not going right. So then he wants me to go into something called a stable spiral, where you're basically just twirling and twirling and twirling super fast. That I do right. But I'm like not fully aware of my altitude, and it's super windy. The guy behind me crashed, landed on his full face helmet, and turned out okay, but it was yucky. Hard to launch, didn't get a lot of altitude. I'm in a thing, I throw my reserve, I feel it tug up on me, and I think that like, whew, I'm okay now, right? No, because it takes a while for the reserve to slow you down. I hit the water hard. Like it hurt to walk for the next 3 days. My back was so hurt. And the harness that you wear is designed to protect your back. Like it's like a giant airbag. And even though I landed on this airbag and you'd think everything is okay, It was sore.
What,
And
you
when I
got
hit
the
the
shirt
water,
water, like feet first or like back first? Like what angle were you going into the water?
I was maybe a 45, and you assume the PLF position. You've probably seen parachutists like jump off a chair, practice that, and you do the same thing. So I did that. I sort of hit feet first and then slammed into the water, I guess. I had no idea, dude. Throwing a reserve parachute is not good. Like, it's certainly better than not throwing it, but it's not the sort of thing that you do like
For fun.
unless you really have to. It's a mess. And I was talking to other people and they're like, right, like if they learned anything by throwing that reserve, it's that try not to throw your reserve. It's not a soft landing. It's dreadful. And when I landed, I thought the reserve would just like fall in the water and like become a towel. That's not what happened. It was so windy it stayed inflated, and I was like, to say water skiing would be an example, but I have the video of it. I'm going like 5 miles an hour through
just moving. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm having my your harness has foam in it, like to protect you, so it's flotation, but it's on your back, so it really wants you on your belly. Like,
That's what I was gonna.
So I'm fighting to stay on top of it. I'm like on one side, and then I'm on the other side, and then I eventually get on my back, and I'm getting pulled through the water, and I'm like, okay, this is my life now. Fuck. I guess I'll just keep doing this until the rescue boat comes around. Because what happens is part of your reserve when you throw it is gone. Like the handle, that's gone. But in this scenario, if you tap your helmet and tell them you're okay, they'll go get the handle and then get you. So that's what I had them do. And I was just like, oh, here we go. So the boat took a little while to get there. I'm skiing on top of my harness, and then the parachute blows into the boat. They catch it and start reeling me in like a fish.
Oh, that sounds.
But you got the shirt.
Step 1 until step 99 of that whole thing stresses me out. That seems awful. Like, I don't want, like, if somebody told me, like, if I don't know, if I was taking skiing lessons and he's like, all right, there's a lot of moguls on this one, just in case you ever have to ski with one ski down and no poles, give that a go and you'll see how hard it is. And it's like, no, I'm gonna fucking take your word for it and take my other ski back and then go talk to a reputable trainer, you fucking charlatan.
Yeah.
You don't even have a fucking one of the sweaters on. Like, you're not real. But like, that being dragged in the water made me think of, you guys have all gone tubing on lakes behind speedboats and whatnot. And I'm sure that you've done the trick where, like, you're grabbing to the handles and if you can bounce yourself upside down and then bounce yourself back up. So like you're like pancaking almost. Have you guys done that?
I've done a full 360, like
yeah,
all
or
that
do
stuff.
the
It's
full
really fun.
flip over. And there is one, like, if you can do that and flip over and in 1 second flip back, you'll succeed in the trick. But the difference between 1 second being dragged under the water behind a speedboat at that speed and 2.5 seconds of it is the difference between, like, all right, and just move. Oh no! And then you just feel like you're drowning. Oh, it's just you go from zero to panic so quickly.
I've only done that maybe 4 times in my life, but every time I did it, it was like, this is what we're doing all fucking day. Like, everybody else gets tired of it, and I'm like, hey man, can me and you just go out for a few more laps? Like, and this time, I don't have pussy shit. Like, let's get some speed going, because the faster you go, the more that thing is more like a hover craft you're on. Like, it touches the water at whatever 40 miles. I don't know how fast we're going. I have no idea, but 40 miles per. I've been 80 miles per hour on a boat before, because the guy had 2 big ass engines on the back, and he was like, "Y'all want to see some shit?" He says, "Y'all want to see some shit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. I want to see some shit," because I was the only one besides him who had a chair. My other friend was having to sit in the base of the boat. When he pulls the throttles back, the nose of the boat goes straight up, and I'm like, "Can you see where we're going?" He's like, "Hell no!" And he's just screaming. I'm like, "How fast are we going?" Because it feels like 150 in a car.
Yeah,
maybe faster. He's like 80, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" I can't imagine those guys you see on TV and like the jet boats who are literally just skimming the edge, like. And how many times have you seen those horrific crashes they get into where, like, the nose of the boat goes up too far because it's bouncing and then just...
That's one of the most, like, deadly activities out there is those speedboats. Like, it's regular that people die doing that. I remember do you ever do, like, the 2-tube thing where you either have, like, you have 2 people on a different tube in the back and you, like, ram into each other, or you have, like, the giant 3-person tube. I remember when I was, like, 10 or 11, and my younger brother would be on the other tube. And I was the only one of us that was strong enough to hold on with one hand to give the thumbs up for faster. And he wasn't able to let go to give a thumbs down for slower. And so just every time it was like, just fucking faster. And I could hear him over there like, Taylor, stop. Stop.
Now,
What?
how old is your brother now?
He's 2 years younger than me, so he's 24.
Does he,
24,
like,
25.
in adulthood, harbor any resentment towards you for all this?
No, not at all. Me and my brother are great friends. Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Great
hang out
Outdoors?
time.
The Great Outdoors with John Candy. The Great Outdoors with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd.
No, I haven't.
There's a part where John Candy's gonna ski, and Dan Aykroyd has went and rented this like badass jet boat. It's crazy overpowered for what they're doing, and John Candy's trying to teach his son how to ski, and he's like, "All right, son, you hold like this, and you lean back, and then you in the feet." And the kid's like, "All right," trying to follow this. And Dan Aykroyd's like, "What's going on? What's the holdup?" And John Candy kind of waves, and she goes, "Oh, he's gonna go. Oh yeah, he's ready to go." So he just fucking grabs accelerator, and John Candy gets launched into the water behind this thing. And the whole time, as he's being drugged through like the reeds and like losing a ski, and he's on one ski, like going crazy, just being tortured, being drugged through bushes and shit. He's going, "You bastard! You bastard!" And he goes, "What's he say?" And she goes, "He wants to go faster." And he's like, "Okay."
I hate being in like dark, murky water so much that I would often like keep holding on to those tubes to get dragged a little closer to where the boat would be if I fell off, because I hated having to wade there in the Lake of the Ozarks or wherever, where it's just muddy, dark, and feeling something. There was one time when I was little, and I remember I felt what I imagined as the largest creature in the history of the world underneath my foot, because I felt like a little suction on my foot, and I swear to God, I jumped a foot out of the water and almost started crying. I was only like 7, but it scared the shit out of me. I don't. That's part of what I really fear what is in the deep. If it's a lake, if it's a ocean, it doesn't matter. Like there's something in there that's nefarious, and I know it's game.
I think back to times. I think back to being at that lake house that we were at, and I would just jump off my dock and I would swim down to the very bottom, and I would like touch the mud, and I would come back up. And even thinking about doing that now, and that was like 5 years ago or something. I'm like, ugh, what were you doing going down there? What if there'd been something down there? Because like in that lake, the scariest things are gar, these alligator gar, which I don't have much experience, but they get really long, like, I don't know, 3 feet long, and their mouths are full of teeth, but they're little spiny teeth that are meant for grasping small fish and stuff. They don't hurt people. Although one time, and I swear this is a thing, because like it was in the newspaper, they found a piranha in that lake. Whether someone put it in there or what.
That happens. Yeah, you know the deal. People buy piranha, and then they discover they're not very fun fish. They don't swim very much. They just sit there, and the thrill of watching them eat a goldfish wears out quickly. So since it's a live, healthy fish, they put it in a lake instead of like the toilet, and it's trouble.
Yeah, that's how you get alligators in the sewers in New York. Same thing, also true.
You know, when you hear stuff where they're like, "Oh, did you know that St. Jonathan Sedgwick released 2 rabbits in Australia in 1864, and now there's 1 billion rabbits." It's like, all right, well, fucking St. John probably just didn't really think that through, and it's rabbits, it's gonna be fine. Like if you heard about someone like, Jeffrey of House Inglewood released 2 piranhas in 1540, and now it's called the Childless River or whatever. like if you do something like that, you're an asshole. You shouldn't release animals that can hurt people anywhere, especially not, because if they catch one piranha in a lake, those things don't hang out on their own. For that to be alive and an adult, there are many other piranhas who went, whew, they got Ted. Thank God there are, 10,000 more of us. And we can eat a cow in 10 seconds.
This is the discussion that we had back then. It was like, all right, was there a 1 in a billion chance that this asshole caught the only piranha in Lake Hartwell? Or is there a school of piranha living down there, which probably are doing really well on a lake like that, where it's a vacation type lake. Tons of people live on it, so there's plenty of food. I wouldn't think that they'd go after a person. Like I don't know much about. I watched Wild Discovery, right, growing up, and I've seen a couple shows about piranhas. It seems like they eat dead fish and like stuff like that. And only when they get like starved and like their part of the river becomes a pool and it gets smaller and smaller do they start like killing ducks and crazy shit like that. But still, I'm not comfortable being in there. I would not go in that water right now if I had. I wouldn't. I'm with you 100%. It's lassophobia or something like that. The fear of like unknown deep waters. There's that subreddit, and every time I see like a picture on there, it'll be like a beautiful woman like lying, floating on the water, but it's like from like space almost. It's really high altitude. And you're looking down, and there'll be like a fictional monster that's so big that it would be an ocean liner with a mouth like slowly closing around, and you're just like, oh, that ain't what I want.
Yeah. I don't like that. The same well, it's not even just deep water. It's any situation where like you'd be fucked. You'd get a similar situation or feeling, I think, if you were on a safari and you'd walked 20 feet away from your Jeep and then you saw 50 feet away like a hungry leopard. It'd be like, oh shit, like okay, this might be the end. I'm in this thing's domain. That's like if you threw me in the Colosseum with a real gladiator who was swinging his net and his trident around, like it would be that same thing of like, oh well, fuck, that's all she wrote for me.
You mentioned Game of Thrones, so I got. I mean, you mentioned Gladiator, so I got to transition to Game of Thrones now because I have been steeping myself in Game of Thrones the last few days, watching lots of videos about the series and trying to looking at fan theories and stuff like that. There was
plus it's easy to miss stuff. It's a complicated show.
It's a very complicated show. It is multifaceted, multi-tiered. All these characters running around everywhere, and the names can get lost on you. And it's easy to. I was like, I didn't know. All right, so back at the Tower of Joy, when you get that flashback of Ned Stark basically fighting those knights to get to his sister up in the tower, I wanted to know what happened to Sir Arthur Dayne's sword. Dawn, I think it's called, or Lightbringer, or something like that. It's the sword that's made out of the meteorite in the book, and that seems important to me. They make a clear classification that this is not a Valyrian steel sword. This is a whole new beast. This is a meteorite sword that's milky white instead of dark black like
Sir Arthur Dayne. Is he the one that was really good, better than Ned, but lost because he was...
The best of them all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He had two swords, right?
Yeah.
I remember a guy. I remember someone going with two swords, but I don't remember how he got to two. He was the one when the fight is about to start. The first thing he does is take his sword out, stick it in the ground, and start talking. And he says something to Ned, and Ned's like, "No, this is where it ends." And then they like begin fighting or whatever. He was the baddest of them, or the best of them, I guess I should say. I wanted to know where his sword is, so I'm looking at that. But man, the show is moving really fast. Everybody's got a transporter now, and the whole show, we've all got transporters. We can go from King's Landing to look at where just where Tyrion did last week. He went from wherever they ambushed the Tyrells and the Lannister army. He went from there all the way back to Dragonstone, then to King's Landing, and then back again. And then you had Davos go from Dragonstone to King's Landing, back to Dragonstone, and then to the Wall, right? I'm pretty sure that's right.
I saw an image of where Jon Snow has gone this year.
Eastwatch. Yeah.
Okay, choose the word Eastwatch. Of where Jon Snow has traveled, and it's like, from the Wall to help me, where does he live? Winterfell. Yeah. Down to where Dragonstone is, and then back up to the Wall. And then they showed where the White Walkers went in the same amount of time. It's like 100 feet.
It's not even that. It's not even that, because like if you think all the way back to like season 2, I think it was, when they're having the fight at the Fist of the First Men, which is just a rock formation. You can look on the map and see where that is. That's closer to the Wall than Eastwatch is. Eastwatch is like up here in the north, like where Maine is on our map. It's way up in the northeast, and the Fist of the First Men is sort of like just north of the Wall. It's you have to go farther away to get to Eastwatch than they were. They're backtracking. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. I also saw the fan theory that the Night King is a whole separate entity to the White Walkers. So we've got the Whites, which are like zombie humans, and we've got the White Walkers with their blue faces and they shatter. Like Jon Snow killed one. He shattered it with his Valyrian steel sword. And this suggested that the Night King himself was his own thing that the Children of the Forest made to control the White Walkers. I'm looking forward to when we get.
You mean there's like another creature out there that, because I thought the Night King was the one with the crown-looking ice spires.
That's him. But they're saying that he's different than what seemed to be his peers.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe he has a few more tricks in the up his sleeve.
Because here's what I think. I think we're going to get to a point where like Valyrian steel swords and dragon glass are being used effectively against both White Walkers and dead men, and then it's going to get to the point where like someone sticks one of those weapons into the Night King, and he's going to be like, "Bitch, please," and it's going to be that moment where everybody's like, "Oh shit, we don't even know what we're dealing with," you know.
And then he'll do some shit like where he goes like, "Ah," and everybody who dies just gets back up again, and then that would be all right. If that happens, I'm gonna be all in on wanting to see every human die in the show.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I know for sure.
Even Tyrion.
I don't know anything about the coming episode, but for those who don't know, last week, instead of debuting the correct episode that we all watched, in Spain, they got this coming week's episode. They got season 7, episode 6 last week. So that's out there.
How did they not catch that right away?
They didn't catch it right away at all.
No one seemed to put it on Pirate Bay or anything.
So you want to talk to Chiz about that? Chiz has seen it, and I'm not going to give you any spoilers. I'm not even going to intimate like where it happens or anything like that. I'm just going to give you.
Yeah, I don't want to know anything.
He was like, I'm shaking. It was so good. I feel like I'm on speed or something. He's like, I'm trembling. It was so good. I got to find somebody to talk to about this. I got to go get my dad, make him watch it so I can talk to him about what I just saw.
My night tonight involves a little bit of Vicodin, some pizza, and Game of Thrones. I can tell you that.
You're in the fun part just post-injury where where you're just like, fuck it, I'll eat what I want, I'll take my pills, I'll watch, and I can't feel guilty about being lazy.
I tried to be healthy, I swear. I asked you guys, and Chiz, I think, replied on how to get food delivered. All 3 services are not available here in South Lake Tahoe, and I was like, all right, Pop. The only thing I have is Pizza Hut. That's it. So I got a pizza. There's still some cold stuff left, and I just don't have a lot of other choices unless I want to drive around.
Yeah. If you're going to be there for a day or so more, I highly recommend the cheesy sticks and the bread sticks. That's the best thing they have.
I thought you were about to have a healthy option. I was like, yeah.
They're hot wings. You might think Pizza Hut hot wings are terrible, but I'd give them a 7 out of 10, 6.5. Something. They're not Buffalo Wild Wings or anything, but it's decent. They're really tender. They fall off the bone. They're good.
For people watching, I swear I will get back on the healthy kick when I get home. I know I can't be as active. I even think I was like, which kettlebell exercises can I do on one foot? I'm not done with this, but I do need a pause.
Yeah, you can break that second foot is what you can do.
Yeah, I don't know much about the healing factor stuff. A doctor would be the one to ask about that, but I'd take it easy just because of that. I feel like maybe exerting yourself takes some of whatever would be focused on healing that foot away. Like you want that thing right. And you're looking good anyway. You've been looking good for a while.
Yeah.
I feel much better about myself. I'm 197, if people don't know, was the weight I left for vacation on. I haven't weighed myself on vacation, but I've been pretty good and super active. But I don't want to get back over 2. Like I'm gonna let's just keep going down. I'll cut a bunch of leg muscle maybe.
Oh, that's it. If that calf atrophies, you'll be down to 160 or something like that.
But nah, so I've not done the health thing, and plus, I know that the 3 of us have inspired some people, that's a responsibility too. And I don't take it lightly. So, anyway, that's not done yet.
I take some credit for all of your success out there, people. Just to let it be known. No, I don't. But I'm at 200 and either 200 or 201 right now.
Oh, still dropping.
Yeah,
nice.
Still dropping, and I added quite a bit more to my workouts. So I'm doing like 5 or 6 days a week. I've been doing that for a couple weeks now.
Cool.
Getting good comments. When I've been going out to bars out and about, I've never had, so many girls being like more touchy and more things like that, like shoulder and arm compliments. Thank God I wear shirts out, and so they don't see where the illusion is shattered right here. But it's fun. Like, you're right. You do feel better about yourself. You're like, oh man, like things you pick up are lighter. I went floating a few weekends ago. Didn't even get sunburned, by the way. Went floating the other weekend, and when you're with a bunch of girls and women floating and you ground yourself, a lot of the time they don't take the time to get out and help you move. They just stay sitting there and wait until you drag them off of the sandbar, and usually that's pretty difficult. But dragging it was like, this is like real functional strength. This is what Joe Rogan's talking about. functional strength, pulling people like on sand through the river. And it was just, I don't know, it was neat. It's like building a Skyrim character, but it's your own body, and it's never going to look nearly as cool as a Skyrim character. So
at the SIV course, it happens on a lake, so we would go swimming to cool off, shirtless, as you would. And I just felt so much better about myself than I would 23 pounds heavier. 23 pounds is a lot of weight, and I think I added some muscle too. I don't know, call it 1 or 2 pounds, 25 pounds of fat. Yeah, so that's a significant improvement.
I saw a guy on Reddit. It was a couple pictures, little album put together, and it was like this guy dressed as his mom to use her ID to buy alcohol. Level 100 illusion skill. Yeah. And he killed it. It's like him standing outside the liquor store with a bottle of like MD 2020 or whatever, this like silly drink.
Mad Dog. Yeah.
Wine. And he's got his mother's ID, and he's wearing like a petticoat and a wig and sunglasses and makeup, and it's like, wow, I guess I'd serve that person. Sure. It looks like it's
why did he buy Mad Dog? Have you ever had Mad Dog?
No.
It's that wine that's in the goofy color, like Mad Dog 2020, that goofy glass. Like it's what homeless people and alcoholics drink a lot of the time, or young kids, which that's often overlapping. And my great grandpa heard from his doctor that it was good for you to drink a glass of red wine a day. And he was not a drinker at all. And so he did not want to spend money on real wine. And so we found out like years after this doctor's appointment, we went to his house once, and there was just a bottle of half-empty Mad Dog 2020, like red, sitting there. We were like, Grandpa, what the hell? Like, why? He's like, oh, well, my doctor told me I should be drinking 1 glass of red wine every night before bed for my heart. And so I've been having a glass of Mad Dog every night for the last few years. And it's like, Grandpa, like, we'll buy you better wine, bud. Like, there's no way this is even good for you. Like, no, this isn't the kind of wine that you want. This is like basically Four Loko.
I read that I didn't read it. Joe Rogan told me, so maybe not as.
I'm sure he read it.
Yeah. So I read his lips. And he told me that salt was fine. Didn't matter how much salt I ate. He said that the whole idea that salt was bad for you is a whole myth. He started pulling up all these studies, all these like actual like journal-based studies and it's like double-blind shit of proving that like
3 years ago that dude wasn't sold that we landed on the moon.
Well, he's on board with that now. And hey, you see the evidence, you might be swayed as well. Have you seen the videos?
Yes. I've seen it, and the fact that some of it was fake puts the rest of it into question. I hear you, but I'm with Joe. There was some shenanigans, but they really did go to the moon.
I agree.
The salt thing ties into so much of what I've been saying about diet stuff in general. Now they say eating foods with fat in it is typically not very bad. Eating food with something else I don't recall. It was like fat and I don't know. But they're like fat-free foods typically substitute with lots of sugar. It's worse for you than fatty foods. Yeah. And cholesterol. Foods that have cholesterol in them, like eggs, used to be like, oh my God, watch your cholesterol. You don't want to eat it. Turns out eating foods with cholesterol doesn't necessarily increase your cholesterol. Your cholesterol is increased by eating foods with like sugar and stuff because your body makes your cholesterol. You don't get it through. Anyway, my point is, the fact that what you're supposed to eat changes so much, one, it's hard to keep up. Two, I don't trust even what they say now because it's going to change.
Yeah, there's a new thing all the time. Like, I think it was George Carlin or some comedian who was like, are eggs good or bad for you? And it's like that's probably the best way to boil that down. Is like, I have always kind of thought eggs were good for you. Like, but there are people out there who don't eat eggs because they're convinced that it's awful for you. Milk, I've always thought was good for you. I guess some people think it's bad for you.
I've heard that it's good for you. There's something. It might be the lactose that like spurs brain development or something, and you want some milk in your diet when you're young and when you're old.
Here's what I think about
get it going and keep it going.
Like calcium.
It's one of those things that I think that like
sugar.
The milk industry and the milk lobby is so big, and that sounds silly at first, but then think back to Michael Jordan, with that milk mustache. He wasn't doing that shit for free. Like Jordan's like wearing Hanes, fucking Jordans, and milk. Like those are the only 3 things that had enough money to get that man on Gatorade. Yeah. Like it took some real money to get Jordan to drink that. Milk's not that great for you, I don't think. My guess is that there are things in milk that are good for you that you should have, but you could probably get them in like higher quantities from other things. It's like saying you're getting your vitamin C from orange juice. Like, really? Did you have to drink 200 calories of sugar to get 13 grams of vitamin C when you could have gotten it out of, like, I don't know, a better source?
I read that they put sugar in the milk where they've removed the fat. Like, the 1% milk and 2% or non-fat milk has sugar in it. And it's worse for you than the full fat milk. And then, of course, fat. Look, it was right there on the internet.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I hope it's not, because that sounds crazy.
Look at Chiz going to town on these comments right now. Well, you need proper levels of magnesium to make sure that you can absorb the calcium. It's like, how do I know that's true? That's just big magnesium. They're tired of people using their product to throw in lakes for entertainment. They need people to start eating it.
Chiz, I don't know where his source is, but he's agreeing with me on the low-fat milk being
I'm pretty sure he's right.
Okay.
Cool. I like all milk. I like milk so much, like I can have a glass of milk sometimes. Like if I wake up at night, especially, and I'm a little hungry, like a couple gulps of milk is pretty filling. I can go back to bed with that without getting up and.
Actually, I've cut pretty much everything, but except for today, everything but water out of my liquid diet. But milk does, like, it's not a bad snack substitute.
Yeah, if I have heartburn
more than any, it's just like a protein shake, but with fat instead of protein, I guess. Like it fills you up.
And you need fat
that same way. And you do need fat. Yeah. Your tidbit about it doesn't matter how much salt you eat. I hear you. I accept it without question, because that fits like I was looking at how much salt is in all this fucking turkey bacon that I'm eating all the time, because I'm addicted to this turkey bacon. I'm making like turkey bacon BLT sandwiches all the time, and they're great. And it's got a fuck ton of protein in it. And I looked at the ingredients list, and I'm eating way too much salt. Like twice as much salt as I'm recommended to be having a day, all added up. But the fact that Kyle just now on our 1 hour bonus podcast said that there's no problem with it, now I can go months without considering this until there's a real problem.
Once this gets published, it will be a published fact. Not necessarily peer reviewed, but definitely published.
We're all peers. We'll do a little review, peer reviewed.
Here's the thing about salt, though, that is definitely true. It makes you heavier. It makes you absorb water. You bloat. And so what I do sometimes, retain water. That's what I'm looking for. Thanks, Chiz. I sometimes will have salty popcorn. Like it's like, it's Game of Thrones night. Let's have some popcorn, and it fucks up my weigh-in the next day. I'll have an anomaly day where I've gained just because I'm filled with water.
I must be retaining a fuck ton of water, because I take creatine every day, and that retains your water. And I'm eating just, according to the internet, an inappropriate level of salt. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe if I just cut that out for like 2 weeks, I drop down. But then I dehydrate.
I don't know as much about creatine, but the salt effect, it's short.
Yeah. It washes right out.
Like alcohol too, that causes you to bloat up. I haven't really, in recent weeks, haven't really been drinking much, because that's just fucking empty calories. But that causes you to bloat up. That's the big war. Is the war on bloating.
I am. I always thought that vodka was 0 calorie.
Didn't you and I have a talk about this recently, and I had to convince you?
I realize how stupid it is. I realize it. But if you, I looked at it. I looked at the vodka, and I was like, well, it's clear like water. And I know, of course, Sprite is clear like water. Okay, plenty of things are. All right. But it was like, what's in here that's got calories? And like, I didn't know anything about the fermentation process. I'm not thinking that like, I guess if they make it with potatoes, maybe some potato calories are carrying on. I don't know. But like, I know now that vodka has calories in it, but I swear to God, like that's a new thing for me. Like it was like 6 months ago, Chiz told me, I think, or something like that, and I felt so stupid, because like I can usually look at something and be like, that's not good for you, bro. I don't need any science to tell me that's not good for you. That's just not good for you. But with
that's
vodka,
how all those homeless guys keep their girlish figures.
That's what I thought. I swear to God, I always thought, like when I'd hear people talk about like drinking beers and like, that's just bread. You're just drinking bread, man. I was always thinking, just do 2 shots of vodka, man. Why are you drinking 3 beers? Like that's the same thing, and no calories.
Yeah.
Such a dummy.
I can't find it. There's a word. I saw it on Reddit today, and I can't find it quickly enough. But there's a word for a smart person who or for someone who does something really dumb who's otherwise smart, and that describes Kyle like exactly. Like I think it was on that. Did you see the Reddit picture where the girl didn't plug in her thing? It was a conversation. They're like, "Hey, my Apple TV's not working. Is it plugged in? They go the HDMI." He's like, "Was there a light on the front? No. Is it plugged into the wall? You love me, right?" You know, and the descriptions there's a Kyle nailed it. I'm sorry, I'm on drugs, but
no,
yeah,
yes, you're
no,
on
I like
drugs. That's a free excuse.
Yeah,
like Kyle, I had to have that same conversation with someone recently who, and you're not alone in this. Like, I want to make fun of you because it is stupid to think that vodka is 0 calories.
Like,
yeah, you don't drink.
Part of it is like I have such little knowledge about alcohol because I just don't drink very much too. I'm sure does it even say on the back? Because I've had bottles of vodka. I guess I never looked at the back, but I just always assumed it would say 0 back there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I don't know if it does say it on there for bottles of liquor. But I had this conversation with a friend of mine recently, and I've had it multiple times where I have to pull out like a fucking Google because they'll be in an argument and be like, dude, like when I'm just trying to lose weight, I just drink whiskey or vodka instead of beer. And it's like you realize that one shot of whiskey or vodka at the least is going to have 96 calories in it, because if it's 80% or 80 proof, that means that just the ethanol in there is going to carry about 96 calories. And then they're like, no, that's not true. That can't be true. And then you pull it up and they're all, God damn, shit. And it's like a realization of these people of like, oh man, like I thought I found like a loophole in the Matrix here, where they're like, hey, did you hear the aliens forgot to load up the full nutritional facts on vodka? Get in now while it's good. Like, no, but to Kyle's point, like if you were drinking vodka every night, of course you'd notice because you'd start getting fat. But yeah, it's
you wouldn't be hungry.
Vodka in particular ties into my theory that I'm not sure that all calories are created equal, right? Yeah, I've said this so many times. Like for me, in particular, frosted mini wheats, the 10 minutes that they're in my body can't be long enough for me to get all those calories out of them. You know, those things are a laxative to me. And vodka, like, of course, a calorie is measured by you burn it and how much it heats water. Does the human body process alcohol as well as it does sugar?
I think because the human body tries to process it so well, that's why it can hurt your liver if you drink too much, right? Because you're spending so much energy and insulin or whatever the fuck it is in your liver trying to process the alcohol. Is that true?
The wrong one. You're the alcoholic.
I think I made that up. You're
the drinker. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Let's talk about Charlottesville. You want to talk about Charlottesville a little bit?
A little bit. So what's interesting to me is I'm going to come off like a racist here.
Yeah.
So I'm on drugs. I'll pre-excuse it, but I'm not condoning the Nazi white supremacist people or whatever. But the Black Lives Matter crowd, like on the left, my team on this thing, they've done some stuff too. Like the Nazis are chanting white lives matter, and they're pure evil, but the left chants Black Lives Matter. And it's a cause we shall need to get behind. And I do feel like go on.
Because everybody's like defending their own side, at least the media and the people on the far sides are. And so I think most people in the middle, and even people who lean right or lean left, they look at this and they go, yeah, I fucking hate white supremacists, and I also hate these bike lock swinging Antifa causing problems everywhere with violence. But because the media, maybe if they're like trying to vilify or rationalize the Antifa, or the right-wing media, they're trying to rationalize the alt-right just responding to it. It's like because the other side isn't giving an inch, you have to pretend that your side is blameless in it. If that, maybe I articulated that very poorly.
So
it seems like people don't want to give an inch, or they're afraid they'll take a mile. When it's fucking obvious to anybody who watched this that both sides have a lot of shitty people in there. I just listened to the Trump thing where he's like, there's a lot of good people in there for this protest. And it's like, I heard a couple clips. I don't think so. When they're chanting blood and soil and white rights, or Jews will not divide us, or Jews won't replace us. That's what it was. It's like, if I'm standing in, like if I got put there and I had a sign that was like, lower taxes, and somebody was like, Jews will not replace us, I'd be like, all right, this is not my venue. I've come to realize I will
showed up at the wrong day, eh? This is Jews will not replace us day. I got in the wrong line. I'm sorry. I'm here for infrastructure, lower taxes, fiscal responsibility, border control, responsible immigration policies. I said nothing about white power. I don't like hearing that. Like where do those people go?
And in the same way, there are people on the left who are in those Antifa protests, I bet, where they're standing there being like, hey, everybody needs to be treated equally, and I think we need to raise taxes because it's not fair that the rich aren't paying their fair share. And then somebody right next to him's like, racist, KKK, Nazi, fuck you, fascist. And those people are like, oh, shit. Like, so I kind of feel I don't belong here either.
Here's so sometimes when I watch politics, I really enjoy the chess of it, right? Like, he made this move, he made that move. And Trump, as much as he's not working for me, his political instincts have been pretty good. I mean, he jumped in and went straight to president. You can't argue with the guy's success. You might argue that Hillary was one of the more beatable candidates recently, but
for sure.
He won. And here's a spot where I feel like Trump's instincts, he's losing his own people on this.
Well, he
way off.
All right, so I followed this thing as closely as it can possibly be followed this week. I've seen every bit of the coverage. I watched it all live, and then I watched 5 replays of it. The facts are, unfortunately, that the Nazis got a fucking permit to go out there and protest that day where they were. And the Antifa people, the anti-fascism guys who are known to be pretty violent themselves, and BLM who have been known to be violent themselves, also had a permit, except their permit was for a park across on the other side of the city and had nothing to do with the area in which they were actually protesting / counter-protesting in. CNN heard that and he went, oh, well, interesting. And they moved along. That kind of dishonesty, that kind of blatant dishonesty in the face of clear facts is what people don't like. I'm not defending the neo-Nazis or the KKK, but you've got to call a spade a spade. You've got to be 100% honest every step of the way, because if you start bending the truth, lying a little, or ignoring something over here, then we can't be entirely accurate and honest about the bad shit that nobody likes with it out there. One group had a permit, the other one didn't, and both groups had clubs. That's undeniable.
Which group?
Right?
Which I don't know, because I was busy this weekend. I haven't followed it much. I heard Ben Shapiro talk about it, and that's about my extent of it. What like started it? Who?
All right, so there was no starting it. Like once they got out there, it was an evolving situation. Every second it was changing, and it was widespread. It wasn't like it was all right here in this room happening. There's people 100 yards down the road who were maybe having a peaceful conversation between left and right, and then 50 feet this way, there's some guy like jumping in and swinging. It was just violence without a stop. It was crazy. It reminded me a lot of Gangs of New York. Remember when Bill the Butcher gets his crowd together and the Catholic guy gets his crowd together, and they're all standing out there in their uniforms with their clubs, their knives, their swords, their picks, whatever, and they're like getting ready to throw down. Both sides had weapons. Both sides had clubs. Both sides had pepper spray, and I read homemade pepper spray, and I heard them say homemade pepper spray, which it's used. I don't discount that. I just want to know what they mean by that. They said that there was urine in bottles, cement in cans, all that being hurled back and forth. I didn't see any firearms on the left. I didn't, but I did see militia who need to be separated from the different groups. There's all these different groups mixed in, and you just call them the alt-right. And I feel like Trump's point was, not everybody who came there is a Nazi. Not everybody who came there is KKK. It was a unite the right thing. It seems like there has to be some good guys mixed in there on the right side who like you said, Taylor, were like, lower taxes though, or
But I don't if there were people like that. Like I was using that as an example of me, is I would have left. Like the fact that they were, like, sure. I don't know, it like in the heart of it, where they're holding their torches and they're like the actual fucking, okay, well then I clearly don't even know enough to be talking about it. But that one stopped me.
I had a couple things I've been waiting to jump in.
Go ahead.
So one thing, Kyle mentioned CNN glossing over the permit part, And was it Jordan Peterson on our show? I got exposed to somebody's great thought that like the right doesn't hate MSNBC because MSNBC is what they say they are. You know, they're the anti-Fox, right? They're the left's version of Fox. CNN says we're straight down the middle, we're honest and we're unbiased. And anytime they break that contract, then people get especially mad at them. They say, CNN, you're the fake news. No one calls Fox fake news because Fox is right news. No one calls MSNBC fake news, I think, because they're left news. It's CNN who sometimes shifts to the left. And
if you try,
oh, go ahead. I was just going to repeat.
If you try to say what you just said, people start. I'm just talking about from what I've seen on like Don Lemon's show, on Wolf's show, and on Anderson Cooper's show, which I mean I've been following this thing 100%. CNN's been blasting for a week. As soon as you try to like talk this reasonable talk that you just said, they start asking, oh, well, I don't know who raised you. They go to this like personal thing, like who raised you? Your upbringing is wrong. You're clearly like a dummy. And the people have to be like, and no conservatives will go on like those shows. I saw earlier, like Wolf was like, we invited several Republicans, but none showed up. And it's like, no shit, Wolf. They watched the show early in the week. Every time one of them would try to just take an honest position on this thing, you had 3 other people insulting their like upbringing, at their education, and you have these people are like, hey, I have 15 years of law enforcement experience, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And the other guy's like, oh, you just lying, you're out here lying to keep your job. And it's, whoa wow.
Do you remember Jeffrey Lord from CNN? I think that was his name. I might be messing up his name, but so CNN hired a guy pretty much to be a Trump defender. And he defended everything Trump would do. And it kind of frustrated me that they didn't hire a better one. He got fired for saying, she said it was Hail Hitler. I thought it was Sig Heil. But anyway, he put it in a tweet, and it was mocking, and it was sarcastic. And, you know, he was kind of making fun of a guy he was in a debate with. And anyway, 18 months ago, this guy lived with his mom, right? He was not like a heavyweight. And Hannity and Combs, do you guys remember Combs? Combs was a total lightweight milquetoast. He was not Hannity's equal to the left. He was there to get steamrolled and get his ass kicked by Hannity every night. Jeffrey Lord, the same thing. He would just show up to a 3v1, get his ass kicked constantly, and he would represent the right on CNN. And that's not what balanced is.
And if that's where you get all your news, and like from the Hannity and Combs or the Jeffrey Lord thing, like if you're insular and that's all that you consume, it's really easy to fall into the trap of like, how can these conservatives or how can these liberals even think they have an argument? These fools! Look, they're getting trounced they don't have a single argument. It's just emotional, angst.
Instead of putting a Ben Shapiro on there.
Yeah, dude, Ben Shapiro is someone who every time he goes on a channel, he humiliates people. He makes them look like fucking fools. There are so many great clips of him on Twitter and in video tearing that smug prick Piers Morgan apart, who's like, oh, I live in this country, but I often have things to say about the Second Amendment and such. And it's like, oh, that's fucking fascinating. You Brit, go back to where you came from. Stop telling us we can't have guns. You already have your dreamland.
When outsiders tell us how we should run our country, whether it be Jim Jeffries or Piers Morgan, I don't like it. I feel like, hey, man, like, look, you want to visit us? Great. You have some sort of talent. You're good for the nation. I'll take it. But don't sit here and tell me that I shouldn't have gun rights, you fuck. You're not American. It
aggravates me. It's like you don't. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. Like Jim Jeffries, well, first of all, the entire trend of every single thing in comedy everywhere being like, yeah, have you heard about this Trump guy, yeah? Not a fan one bit. And it's like, oh my God. Like, it's the same thing over and over. I just see that Chiz wrote he's got a show now. I watched a little clip of Jim Jeffries' show. It's an idiot talking about things he doesn't understand in an Australian accent with lazy infographics behind. It's basically a worse Colbert Report where it's even more smug unimaginably. Like, that's hard to fathom. But I'm just so
Colbert did a good job this week.
It's the
Colbert
same shit over and over.
He said that Trump came out and gave a speech that was the equivalent of shooting an air ball into the Third Reich.
Everybody you know I dislike is a Nazi. All of them. They're all Nazis. And in saying so, I am above reproach, and I take the moral high ground. While also insulting my opponent. It's a intellectually honest way to argue.
One of the things I heard someone throughout this week was like all of those people who were calling like anyone and everyone from the right they disagreed with a Nazi. Now they have to use the same word for the actual Nazis, and it just doesn't carry the same amount of weight. Like they did themselves a disservice in some regard.
It's funny, like, all right, I get the whole Nazi calling and how dumb it is, but on the right, they call you Satan, right? Mm-hmm. Obama had to literally get up there and tell people he didn't smell like sulfur because he's like.
Oh, but he did say that, because there were a couple people, like fringe people, saying he's the devil. Obama is. Joe, you're a great guy and I trust you, but Obama is Satan himself, and Hillary Clinton is Lucifer, like that Alex Jones shit. And so I remember that clip of Obama doing that, and it was really, it wasn't because there was like the media most of the media sucked Obama's dick, aside from Fox News, they did, and so for him to do that is more like, I don't even smell like sulfur. Only these fucking bigot idiots think I do because I'm black. I'm not going to say that right now, but I'm going to imply it heavily. Like that.
No, dude, I'm telling you, my father said Obama was the Antichrist. And I know my dad a little out there, but to me that means it's not 1 in a million. It's some bigger number, 1 in 1,000. And
maybe I've never heard anybody say that for real. Like even my grandparents who are religious, like they're like, yeah, I don't like Obama, but he's not Satan.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had anyone actually think he's Satan, but I've certainly read that sentiment online many times. Like that was the thing. And honestly, like that's a part of the right that no one wants to talk about. And part of it is the white supremacist guys. Like to say that it is the base is bullshit, but to say that it's part of the base is just 100% factually accurate, because the KKK is probably not voting for Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, and it's clear to see why. That doesn't mean, however, that Donald Trump is a grand wizard. Okay.
You know what I enjoy in this? So for a long time, I have had members on my team with the fucking blue hair and gauge earrings and, screaming about how you're a fucking white male. That I'm like, I can't believe you're on my team, you asshole. Can you go somewhere else? Now here come the KKK members and white supremacists, and you guys have the same feeling,
it's not fun.
I've got assholes on my team too.
Dude, and the thing about these fucking alt-right people is they're not conservative. They want a big government the same way a lot of people on the left do. They just think that race is like the most important thing. They want a lot of infrastructure. They don't want lower corporate taxes a lot of the time. They want a big social safety net. Their like number one issue is just we dislike non-white people, and we think that this country is going to fail if there are miscegenation or misogynate, whatever it's called, when like whatever, like white people and non-white people have kids, like they hate that. And it's like, how can you fucking idiots not see that? Like, you missed the point. You can't see the forest for the trees. Like, yeah, the society would be way better if we had a lot of good, families, nuclear families, raising kids well, teaching them morals. Like, that's what we need. It doesn't matter if they're white. Yeah, I think most people believe that, but it doesn't matter if they're fucking white parents. If it's a black lady and a white guy or whatever mix you want, and they're raising their kids well, and they're creating like good, productive people to society, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
I like gay parents too. Like I don't know that many gay parents, but my impression of them is that they're pretty loving parents. Like
of course, yeah. Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them are, and I'm sure
it was that old mentality from like the '90s where like they thought that any homosexual was a child molester. I remember watching NYPD Blue. I think it was that was the one with the chickless, right? The fat cop, and then anyway, I remember like there was he had a son, maybe with special needs, but I know the son needed someone to look after him, and there was a gay guy in the precinct, and he was like kind of weird about it. He's like, I don't know if I want that guy. And they had this whole conversation where another cop was like, he likes men, like he doesn't want your little boy. Like you've got to be able to understand the difference. And at the time, like everyone was so ignorant. Like I remember thinking that like, well, I learned something today. At 13-year-old me, I don't fucking know.
Well, that was a good episode then, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, PD Blue, it raised me. It made me the man I was raised by. I saw like 2 episodes, and that was one of them. But that was a good show. No, but so the thing in Charlestonville was just that's where it was, right? Charlestonville. Seems
I
like
think so. That sounds right.
seems like it's got two endings.
Too long of a name.
Do you remember? And there was a
agree.
Adam Sandler movie where like the chick lied and said she was from like
I'm from
West
Chestertonville.
Chestertonvilleton.
Yeah.
He like kept adding like endings to pop. It was disgusting.
Charlottesville.
When I saw that car plowing through those people, and there's a noise that it made, because I've seen the clip 50 times. There's a noise the car made hitting the people, and it's this disgusting noise. It's a meaty noise. It's a disgusting noise to hear. And you look at that crowd of people, and I've seen all the angles, and I watched the Vice 30-minute special about this thing. They were embedded. They had I don't know the reporter's name, but she's young, she's kind of pretty, she's got large glasses that make her less so, but she's a very good journalist, and she's embedded with the white supremacist guys, the unabashedly 100%, and she's interviewing this gentleman. I don't remember his name, but he's a well-known guy in that community, and she's like, but aren't you guys, capable of violence too? Because he was talking about black violence. He's like, aren't you guys capable of violence too? He's like, oh, we're more than capable of violence. I work every day to become more capable of violence. I carry a pistol. I go to the gym every day. And she stuck with him throughout the whole thing. At the end of the day, when she's asking about the death, he said, I'd say this is a win in our column. Nobody from our side died. And he started saying that the protesters were hitting that guy's car, and that's why he plowed into them. And I mean, I've seen all the video, and that's not what I
reversed back into that, didn't he?
Yes.
Doesn't that kind of destroy any of that?
The whole thing is like, he started at the top of a street and was accelerating in an open area, it seemed to me. I'm not saying nobody hit his car, but there's no excuse for what he did, the way he did it. We've discussed before, like, what if we were on a highway and a crowd is pushing onto us and trying to get into our vehicle? Like, you got to go, right? They're going to drag you out and murder you.
You don't want to get Reginald Denny.
It's not about running people over. It's about, I got to get out of here. That's not what I saw. I didn't see someone accelerating in terror. I saw someone accelerating with hate. It was.
You guys want to call it a show?
Yeah, that was. We should talk more about that on PKA this week, because that was just, man, that's a crazy event, and it's just it keeps growing out by the day. Trump's support is withering away. It just seems like him and Pence up there now. It's been a crazy news week.
Oh, and people are leaving his. Are they called councils? He ended it.
Yeah, he had those like business councils or whatever, technology something. He just kiboshed them all. He said, hey, people are leaving. I don't want to put pressure on those who remain to stay. I'm cutting it out. It's over. It's done.
Oh, yeah,
this is not a good presidency so far.
No, it's not.
Yeah. All right. PKN episode 156 or 552 as I call it by time.
Yeah, whatever.
That's a wrap.